Hey guys, we are back with some more Salt Lake City Lakers franchise mode, and in this one, we are first off going to be making a trade. We have to trade Zach Aston Reese because he does not fit into the lineup at this point. He is a healthy scratch as of right now since Noah Gunler came up, and also I want to call up our goaltender in the AHL, Bednar, because he was actually doing pretty well throughout most of the season. He has 9 games played and a 902 save percentage. That's gone way down since the start of the season, but I do want to have him up here in the NHL. So in order to do that, we need to get somebody out of here. Rather than waiving somebody, we will trade Aston Reese and may as well get a little bit back for him. We will trade him to the Florida Panthers in exchange for a draft pick here. We will, let's try to get a third and a fourth back, but if not, then I'll be okay with just the third. Proposed trade accepted, there you go. And since Gunler is in the NHL now, I figure we have to replace him at the AHL level. We're going to sign Austin Czarnik here. He's a 77 overall. Just going to give the AHL team some help because as of right now, there's not too many good forwards on that roster, so we're going to sign him to a 1-year contract there. So Czarnik, hopefully you get on the roster soon. And while we're simulating, we're going to keep an eye on the Tampa Bay Lightning because they are currently 14, 20, and 3. Now, if we take a look at the entire league standings, I believe they should be in the bottom 5. Yeah, they're 30th in the NHL. So some interesting happenings there in Tampa Bay. We're going to keep an eye on them throughout the season because obviously we have their draft pick for this year, and that ends up being a top 5 pick. We're in pretty good shape. Now, before we get into the simulation, we do have some line changes to go over. As of late, our offense has been non-existent, so we decided to change up the lines quite a bit, actually. So the first line is now Plekanec with Nelson in the middle and then Marner. Nelson's actually been pretty good on faceoffs this season, so I want to see how he does full-time as a center, because he's at a 55%, I believe. Second line is Kasha with Wright and Burakovsky. Third line is Wah, Faxa, and Kapanen. And the fourth line did not change. Faxa's down there on the third line. He has not been producing well offensively this year. And one thing that I noticed about Plekanec is that he actually does not take a whole lot of shots. Last season, he only had 66 shots total. This year, he has more shots than games played, but last year, that was not the case. So I got him with Nelson, who's obviously a nice power forward, can score some goals there. And Mitch Marner, he actually has more goals than assists this year, and he takes a lot of shots. So I figure that should end up being a pretty good combination. Defense did not change. Power play did, however, as the power play was struggling a little bit towards the end of last episode. So it's basically the 5-on-5 lines, at least for the first line, Plekanec, Nelson, and Marner, and then Montour with Dundas. And then you have Wah, Wright, and Kapanen with Fleury and Kasha on the second unit. Penalty kill did not change. That was the one thing that was very consistent and very good for us. And now that we have an extra space available on the roster, we are going to get Jan Bednar back up here. So there you go. That is about everything that we needed to do right before the simulation started. So let us get through another month of simulating, and we'll see what happens in January here. Hopefully we can have a good month, because we did not have a good month in December. We went 4-7-2, I believe it was. So definitely looking for a bounce back month here. And if we could go, I would say, how many games are here? 2, 5, 8, 11, and 13. If we could get 8 wins here, then I think we'll be in a pretty good spot. We're currently sitting in 4th, but that could easily change with how close the division is. So that being said, let's get underway with January. And there we go. There is Czarnik. He has joined our AHL squad. We will put him in the lineup real quick. Ooh, Stuart Goddard injured with a broken leg until March 21st. Almost the end of the season. You have got to be kidding me. That is a brutal injury. So we are going to have to get, I suppose for now, either Wong or Lambos up there with Montour. I guess it's going to be Wong, considering, yeah, he's got that top 4 role. And then Lambos will have to play with DeMello for right now. We have a trade to Chicago, Sissons, and Rust, and to Nashville, a second, a third, and Beaulieu. And the Colorado Avalanche have fired head coach James Bartlett. So in January, we went 8-5-0. I did say that if we got 8 wins that I'd be happy, so I am. But definitely could have been better, because most of our wins came towards early on in the month, as we see here with Philly, Ottawa, Calgary, Buffalo, and then a loss against Minnesota, but then a win against Winnipeg and Carolina and Washington. So then after that, we went on a bit of a losing streak there. Vegas, New Jersey, the Rangers, and then the Oilers were all losses, so 4 out of 5 there. And then, of course, the win in between with Chicago. So, overall, a pretty good month. Again, I'm not mad, but definitely could have been better, especially towards the end there. But the good news is that we are back in a playoff spot. We're currently sitting in third. We have 54 points. We are 6 points behind the Blackhawks, and we are 1 point in front of the Predators. So we still do not have a whole lot of buffer space, so we need to make sure that we keep winning games here. But let us check out the stats after the month of January. So Marner with 42 points. Dundas with 39 points. He continues to be second on our team in scoring. He is having a phenomenal year. He has already surpassed his point total from last year. He had 36 last year, and he keeps getting better and better. Nelson with 35, Kapanen with 33, Wright with 32, Burakovsky with 32, Kasha with 30, Plekanec with 29, Waugh with 22, Fleury with 16, Faxa with 14, Lambos with 14, Tierney with 13, Montour with 12, Kreider with 9, Goddard with 8, Gunler with 6 in 20 games, so he's been pretty good for the fourth line. Wong with 6, DeMello with 3 in 13 games. And as for goaltender, Shesterkin as a 915 now. So that was at a 907, I believe, before. So he's gradually gotten better as the season has gone on. And he has 3 shutouts to complement that 915 save percentage. Unfortunately, Bednar has not been great. 893 save percentage he's at now. So he's been struggling lately. We might have to get, Brossoit in there for a bit. Goals for per game, we are currently sitting at a 2.9. So we're the top half of the division, but it could be better for sure. Goals against per game, we are currently sitting almost at the top of the division with a 2.78. Power play has actually, I believe, gotten worse, 16.8%, unfortunately. And the penalty kill, that's gotten better at an 84.7. So even though we're in the bottom half of the division for the penalty kill, it's still very good. So I'm not going to touch anything about the penalty kill as long as it can stay consistent, which it seemingly the penalty kill has been our only consistent thing so far this year. And now let's check on the Lightning. They are 21, 25, and 4. Let's check where they are in the entire league. So as we go down to the 20s here, they're definitely not in the top 20. We know that much for certain. So they're 27th. All right. I mean, that's not bad. I would have preferred them to be in 30th or below, but you know what? They're still in a pretty bad spot. I don't see them getting back into the playoff race. So as long as the rest of the Atlantic Division can stay ahead of them, we should have a pretty good chance at that first overall pick, or even a top 3 pick would be great. But still, there's a franchise winger available in the draft this year, so it'd be great if we could get that first overall pick. But we're not going to worry about it too much. We're just going to focus on the season ahead. So with that being said, we will get through yet another month. We have another trade to Winnipeg, Dansk, and a third, and to Arizona, Roslovic and McKenzie. And the Maple Leafs have fired head coach Mario Rue. To Arizona, Sandin, Nason, a 4th and a 6th, and to Toronto, Hennessy, a 1st and Ovechkin. To St. Louis, a 1st and Sato, and to Washington, Manson and Grzelcyk. To the Islanders, Coyle, 2 seconds, and Andrechuk. And to the Rangers, Matt Dumba. To Buffalo, Sonnenberg, a 2nd and a 3rd. And to Edmonton, Miller and a 3rd. So in February, we went 8-4-1. So we seem to have stabilized, at least in terms of getting wins on a consistent basis. Obviously, we had quite a fair share of losses in the later half of that month. So I don't know what it is about the later parts of the month and losing for us, but we still had a winning month. That's all I really care about. So overall, we are 31, 23, and 9. We are currently 3rd in the Central Division, and there is quite a bit of a cushion between us and Nashville. They still have a game in hand, but we are looking better as the weeks go by here. So I don't think there's any reason to make any trades here. So let's just check on the Lightning. They are, oh my, 24, 33 and 4, I believe, if I saw correctly. So let's check the entire league here. Yep, they are back in 30th. Oh my. That Byfield trade may end up being potentially genius here, depending on what happens with the draft lottery. Oh my. The most we know at this point is that the Lightning definitely are not getting into the playoffs with a record like that. So Marner with 52 points, Dundas with 45 so far on the season in 63 games. I would say If he goes on a tear towards the end of the season, he might end up reaching 60. That's certainly possible for him. Nelson with 44, Kapanen with 44, Wright with 41, Plekanec with 39, Kasha with 36, Burakovsky with 35, Waugh with 33, Faxa with 25, Fleury with 21, Montour with 16, Tierney with 15, Lambos with 14, Wong with 11, Kreider with 9, Goddard with 8, and Gunler with 6, DeMello with 3. And a goal, you have Shesterkin with a 918 save percentage and 3 shutouts in 50 games played. Bednar with a 902. I never actually ended up getting, Brossoit back in there, but Bednar did get his save percentage back up there to above a 900, so he's been doing better as of late. Goals for per game, we are sitting at a 2.89, so we've been consistent at least in the amount of goals that we've been scoring. And goals against per game, we have gotten much better, 2.63. We were before, I believe, at a 2.78, if I'm not mistaken. So the defense has gotten much better. The power play, unfortunately, has not, 15.7. That's definitely something I want to figure out before playoff time. But luckily, penalty kill, been solid all year, 85.6. No complaints about the penalty kill, but I wish the power play was much better. So that's definitely something we should look into here. As note, do not advance day. Okay, cool. Input lag. So we're going to go into the power play here and see what we can do. I think I'm going to flip Wright and Plekanec, and then we'll put Plekanec on the left and Waugh in the middle here. That looks good to me. Now Kasha, maybe I want to move him up, maybe take Fleury off, maybe move Montour down. But besides the power play, I don't think we need to change any of the 5-on-5 lines because they've been working for us for the most part. We've been winning games. So I don't want to touch any of the 5-on-5 lines, really. So really, if we could figure out the power play, I think that would put us in a much better spot, and especially for the playoffs. I think we'll switch Montour with Fleury. It's Fleury and Dundas with Wright, Nelson, and Marner. And then Plekanec with Waugh, Kapanen, Kasha, and Montour. Yep, that's going to have to do. Hopefully that works. And I think we are going to just get on with the rest of the season here. Look at that trade value. My goodness. Tampa, I had no idea that this season would end up like this for them. Wow, now they're selling. They're selling Hedman, they're selling McDonough, they're selling Juice. You know what? Maybe we should at least take a look at what Tampa's offering here, because if they're giving up Hedman, I don't want that contract. Even though we do have the cap space right now, that cap space is going to run out pretty quickly with the contracts that we have coming up this upcoming offseason with Wright and Dundas. So, but McDonough. McDonough might not be a bad pickup, especially for only one more year. Fits on defensive pairing, 1 all power play and penalty kill lines. Yeah, I might have to strongly consider that. Let's see, what would I give up for McDonough? Especially with Goddard out. Honestly, we could just give them one of our many goaltender prospects. We have Keystov, Bowman, Strachan, Koko, Olczyk, Bednar, who's our backup currently. So I think we could give them one of these guys, especially since they're rebuilders. I mean, well, not technically, but you know what I mean. They have a losing record, so it makes sense as to why they would want a prospect goaltender, especially since Vasilevsky is now 30 years of age. They don't really have anyone to replace him in the future, so it would make sense to give up one of these guys here. Honestly, I think Koko would be the one to go here because he's already 21 years of age. We have Keystov and Bowman ahead of him on the depth chart, so I think Koko would be the one going the other way here. Now, obviously, that's going to be more than enough to get McDonough, so I think maybe Wismuller, he's 70 overall, 19 years of age, low elite. Yeah, he's got some good stats there with the Oil Kings this year. He's a sniper, 67 points so far in 42 games. And what about his offensive awareness? Offensive awareness is at 80. That's a 70 overall. So he could turn into something pretty good. Yeah, I think we'll get Wismuller on this trade here. So Koko for McDonough and Wismuller. Do I want to do that? Yeah, I mean, for McDonough, honestly, it's worth it. And then Wismuller's a nice sweetener in there. And plus, we don't need Koko. We have 2 guys ahead of him on the depth chart, in addition to our other guys who are currently in the NHL. So proposed trade, that will not go through. Yeah, you know what? They do want to keep Wismuller. So I think instead of Westmuller, well, she's honestly just, yeah, they do want to give up their draft pick still for whatever reason. So we'll take their third for this year, or you know what, maybe for next year, since we already have their first for this year. And they do actually have plenty of thirds for next year. They have 3 thirds, LA's, Vegas, and their own. So we'll take LA's third round pick for next year and McDonough for Coco. Will that work? Yes, it will. So DeMello out, and welcome to Salt Lake City, Ryan McDonough. Get in there, and what is he about? He's got perfect fit on line 1, decent fit on line 3, so we could keep him here if we want to with Lambos, or we could get him with Montour. Maybe that will allow Montour to be better offensively, because Wong and Lambos seem to be holding him back a little bit offensively. Yeah, we might try that. That might end up being a good combo there with McDonough and Montour. And McDonough is actually already on our penalty kill, I guess because the injury to Goddard, because I think that might have been DeMello that had replaced him on the penalty kill. Right, that makes sense. So it's actually, I'm very glad that we made that trade for McDonough. Hopefully the penalty kill is able to stay the way that it was going before. It was just fine, hovering around at 85%. Hopefully it can stay there. And I think with that being said, that we are done at the trade deadline, and we shall advance to the end of the regular season here, and it is looking pretty good. And now Stuart Goddard is back, so we're going to have to send somebody down, and I think that would be Brossoit. We haven't used him all year, so we'll just put him on waivers. Though that being said, Goddard is not completely back. He's just back on the roster, so we're going to keep him off the lineup for a little bit longer. And then when he does get back in, then we have a decision to make, because now that McDonough's in there, we have Wong, Lambos, somebody's got to come out. So I think for the time being, I'm going to take out Ivan Wong. He's 20 years of age. He's got a lot of time to grow, whereas this season, we're kind of making a run for it, you know? So I think we need to get, well, I mean, obviously Goddard's young as well, but he's missed a significant amount of time, and I want him to get back in there, get back into the swing of things, you know, so we will get Goddard back into the third pair, and we'll give him some time. We may as well just, you know what we'll do, we'll rotate Goddard and Wong a little bit for the time being while we have McDonough on our roster. So, I mean, obviously, McDonough is more than likely just a rental, but again, we need our best players in the lineup at all times right now, because we are going for a Stanley Cup this year. So now we will finish off the regular season for year number 6 and make our way into the playoffs. And unfortunately, Hayden Fleury out with injured ribs till April 8th. I believe that is right before the playoffs start, so he should be back by the first round, the start of the first round, really. So that's good news. Well, not the injury itself, but it's good news that he'll be back before the playoffs. So we'll get Montour up, I think, with Dundas, and then Lambos with McDonough or Goddard. Yeah, we'll go Lambos. He's got the +1 with McDonough, and then with Goddard will be Wong. Or actually, Goddard and Wong have a -3, so we'll get, I guess, Goddard with McDonough. So now McDonough is with Goddard, and then Lambos is with Wong. So hopefully we can finish off this regular season without too many other injuries. And of course, Peyton Dundas out with an injured shoulder until April 13th. Hate to see it. So that's, I mean, again, it's not bad, but still, 2 of our really good defensemen out for a couple of games there, specifically Peyton Dundas. So we're going to have to move McDonough up to the first pair. It's a good thing we got McDonough. It's a real good thing we got McDonough. So we'll get Lambos up there with Goddard, and then with Wong will be, actually, Fleury is pretty much back, but I want to make sure he's completely healthy. There's no point in playing him when we are already in the playoffs as of right now, so we don't need to dress him until the start of the playoffs, really. So for right now, we'll just go with DeMello and Wong. And now Hayden Fleury is fully healed and available to play in the team's next game, which will be the last game of the regular season. So now we'll take out DeMello and Fleury back in. So here we are at the end of the regular season of year number 6. Post-trade deadline, we went 11-6-2, meaning our final record is 42, 29, and 11. We finished with 95 points, third in the division. Looks like we will be facing the Blackhawks in the first round of the year 6 playoffs. Just going to confirm here, but that should be the case. And yes, indeed it is. So now what we're going to do, before we check out the playoffs, playoff tree and Chicago's lines, let's see where Tampa finished, because they finished like 30th, 31st even. That'd be great. And oh my goodness gracious, boys. Look at this. What happened to Tampa Bay? Okay, I was not expecting this at all. When we traded Byfield to Tampa Bay. That is... wow. Well, we have the best odds at getting the first overall pick. Presuming there's no other team with 2 lottery picks, then we definitely have the best odds at getting that franchise winger in Ted Yandel. So yeah, Ted Yandel. 54 goals and 57 assists on the season with the Everett Silvertips. Got nothing but A's across the board. NHL ready. He's like Teemu Selanne. Medium franchise potential. And I like his personality as well as a good leader. Respected in the locker room and is very loyal. You can't get better than that. So, regardless of how you look at these next couple of months here for your Salt Lake City Lakers, they are bound to be exciting. Now, checking out the stats for the season, Mitch Marner ended the season with 40 goals and 78 points, led our team. Brock Nelson with 64, Wright with 59, Plekanec with 58, 50 assists. Wow, he quite the playmaker there. Only 100 shots on net, only 8 goals, so he is quite clearly a stereotypical playmaker there. And Kapanen with 54 points, even on the third line for the majority of the year, still getting it done there. Kasha with 53, Burakovsky with 48, Wah in his rookie season with 37 points, pretty good. Faxa with 35, Tierney with 24, Gunler with 17, Kreider with 12. Let's check out the face-off percentages. You have Tierney with a 50.4%, Faxa with a 48.1%, Wah with a 48.1% as well, Wright with a 45.4%, and who else was on face-offs? It was Nelson, 44.5%, so we definitely could have done better in the face-off circle. Physicality is not much of an issue for this team, as we all know. Probably, there's 4 forwards total that are well below a hit per game, and then even Kreider, he's close to a hit per game. 70 hits in 82 games, so I'm not worried about that. Takeaways to giveaways, you have Plekanec, Marner, Wright, Burakovsky, Kapanen, Wah, all very good. Faxa could be better. Well, really, everything about Faxa could have been better this season. He did not have the greatest year. Tierney, he did pretty well, though, for a fourth liner there. Kasha, you hate to see it. That's an ugly ratio, but at least he got some offense there. 54 points, I believe it was. Kreider, he was even. Nelson could have been a bit better. And Gunler, he was actually pretty good, 16-9. And defensively, oh boy, Peyton Dundas with 60 points to finish off the season. He had a stellar year. He has just been, he has grown significantly every single year that he has played. His rookie year, 15 points. Last year, 36 points. This year, 60. Wow. He has really begun to solidify himself as an elite defenseman. And Ryan McDonagh with 32 points, Fleury with 29, Montour with 22, had a bit of a down year there, at least compared to last year. He had 46 points last year. Wong with 15, Lambos with 15, Goddard with 9, and DeMello with 3. Hit-wise, you have Fleury, McDonagh, and Montour well over 100 hits. Lambos with 88, Goddard with 70, Wong with 67, Dundas with 35, and DeMello with 29. And in net, you have Shesterkin with a .912 save percentage and 4 shutouts, 30 wins in 63 games. Bednar with 26 games played, 12 wins, and a .907 save percentage. Not bad. Now the team stats, goals for per game, we sit third in our division, 3.1 goals for per game, and goals against per game, we sit second in our division, 2.73. Power play, the power play was pretty rough all year, 15.9%. Definitely need to work on that in the future, but the good news is that the penalty kill was very solid, really all year as well. So 84.9. Again, wish the power play was better, but all other aspects we seem to be fine. So let us check out the lines of the Chicago Blackhawks, and then we'll end things off. First line, Patrick Kane, Dylan Strome, and Alex DeBrincat. Second line, Nikita Gusev with Kirby Dach and Alexander Nylander. Third line is Jacob De La Rose, Colton Sissons, and Austin Watson. And the fourth line, Tyler Benson, Brian Rust, and Antti Sorella. On defense, you have Vince Dunn and Adam Boqvist. On the second pair, you have Tyler Myers and Nikita Zaitsev. And the third pair, Ben Hutton and Nicholas Bodin. And in goal, they have John Gillies and Anthony Stolarz. Who's scratched here? They have Lafferty, Hudon, and Walmark. So that is about it for this one. And in the next one, we have Buffalo versus Boston, Detroit versus Washington, Pittsburgh versus the New York Rangers, New Jersey versus Philadelphia, and in the West, we have Arizona versus Calgary, Anaheim versus LA, Dallas versus Edmonton, and the Chicago Blackhawks versus your Salt Lake City Lakers. So that, I'll see you guys in the next one when we start up the Year 6 playoffs. See you guys then.